Israel.
No, no,
Okay,
just,
we got to wave. He just waved at you.
We're ready to go? All right. All right, at this time, I'd like to call to order the November 4th Lake Mills City Council meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Here.
Mr. Grundon? Mr. Kirkovich?
Here.
Mr. Shar? Mr. Foster?
Here.
All right, first thing, looking to see if we have motion to approve the city council meeting minutes for the budget work session, October 21st, 2014.
So moved.
We got a second?
Second.
Any questions? Would you call the vote, please?
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
And then looking for a motion to approve the city council meeting minutes from October 21st.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any corrections or questions? Would you call the vote, please?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are passed. Correspondence. Diane, you want to start? Anything in?
Yeah. Well, I think all of us received a piece of correspondence in our email from Ginny Beatty here in Lake Mills, who had a request that we do more in the downtown park for the holiday season. And I did ask some of the other council members prior to the meeting, and I know I'm interested in seeing what we can do, particularly, there's a couple small trees right across from the cafe and the park that I think have potential for little Christmas trees and stuff. So if nobody has any objections, I'll give Ginny a call and see what she was thinking, and I think we can probably do something to liven that area up a little bit. So, is that, nobody's objecting? Okay. So, Ginny, if you're out there listening, I'll give you a call. So,
That it? Hey, Mike?
Other than what Diane just mentioned, nothing.
And I had just a couple questions, mainly on, I think, parks, Cemetery, Wallace Park, Rotary Park, and I talked to Rob Getz, and I've answered most of those questions. And then I had a question on the Clean Sweep program. That's not on the website, right? Just brochures here for like when drop-offs and stuff are? Do you happen to know the dates, or is there any way to put that on the website?
it's coming up in 15.
Okay,
It's done for this year,
all right.
I believe.
Those were the only real questions I had, so.
But maybe we can have that added to our
Something
website.
that, yeah, because a few people wanted to know, and I said, I don't really know, and I didn't pick up a brochure last time.
If it's
so.
not, it should be. So,
All right. Next agenda, questions and public comment. Public is encouraged to address the council at this time regarding items on the agenda unless the items are specific to a public hearing. If your comment pertains to a public hearing, you're asked to hold your comments until the hearing. Please, public comment may also be made at this time on items that are not on the agenda if you've registered with the city clerk before the meeting has been called to order. State's open meeting law discourages action by the council on items not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments listed to 3 minutes and state your name and address before starting, and please fill out the sheet at the podium. Do we have any public comments? And seeing none, we'll close that. City manager's report. Steve, anything to add other than the packets we got?
No, I noted that we had a budget study session earlier tonight, and we went through the budget again for the third time. Basically, the The note was as changes brought on by the equalization ratio and the expenditure restraint number, and also a union negotiation. So other than that, there's not much.
Any questions for Steve or anything this time? No, we'll move on to acceptance committee minutes. We have Public Works Board meeting from September 9th, Police and Fire Commission from August 21st, LD, or August 8th, the LD Public Library from September 15th, Lake Mills Housing Authority from September 23rd, and the Joint Rock Lake Committee from September 2nd. That will all be put on the record. Board and committee appointments. Steve, do you have any?
Nope.
No. We'll move on to miscellaneous licenses. We do have one. Can we have the name read, please?
Jillian K. Hoogley?
See that one?
Hoog- I'm not sure of the pronunciation.
And I'm sharing my sheet with Mike. He didn't have one. Do you have it?
No.
I have it.
All right. And we have a motion to accept.
Did he?
He's reading it now.
Oh, okay, got
Yeah,
it.
I
I'll
didn't
make
get
a
it.
motion to issue the tavern operator's license.
I'll second it.
Second. Any other questions or issues on this one? Can we call the vote, please?
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed. Confirmation of appointment for the city clerk HR office, Melissa. That is it motion 14-11-1-1? Can we get that read, please?
City Council motion 141111, confirmation of city manager appointment of city clerk. Whereas Wisconsin statutes and the Lake Mills Charter Ordinance provide for the appointment of certain positions by the city manager, and whereas there is a need to appoint the positions of city clerk, human resource officer, and whereas the appointee has been performing the duties of the position within the scope of the deputy clerk's position, and whereas the city manager has determined that it is in the best interest of the city to appoint Melissa Quest as city clerk, human resources officer, be it therefore moved by the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin as follows: that the City Council confirms the appointment of Melissa Quest as city clerk, human resource officer. The City Council does hereby confirm the city manager appointment and does hereby authorize the council president to sign the motion.
Do we have a motion to adopt motion 14-11-1-1?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any
I have a question.
comments, questions? Yep.
Yeah. Do we need to add of city clerk on the title at the top? Like you read it? Confirmation of city manager, appointment of city clerk? Because it's not there. Or is that housekeeping?
You can do it either way, as housekeeping or as,
Okay, as long as it gets done, I don't care.
okay. Yeah, we have to modify the motion anyway because Mr. Shar was supposed to sign it. So if we're going to change it, we might as well change that too.
So you don't need a amendment? I mean...
You
do-
can.
Okay. I'll make a motion to amend the title to add the words of city clerk to the title and to obviously change the person who's going to sign it.
So confirmation of city manager.
Yeah, the way she read it was confirmation of city manager appointment of city clerk.
Okay. Got a second?
I will second it.
So we need to
We
vote
need
on the amendment.
Yep. Take, call the roll, please.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye. Now,
I just want to say I'm real tickled with the appointment. I think Misty has done a really nice job in her current position, and I think she'll do a real good job as in her city clerk, human resources officer position as well. So,
No further questions, comments? Can you call the vote, please?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkevich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
All right, and congratulations for an order.
And she's busy downstairs
Yep.
with the voting.
Yep, working.
Do we need to call her? or
Should
Tell
we-
tell her
We did it, we did it.
she confirmed?
No, just stop on the floor.
She may think
No,
about it
I think
again
we'll
after
just
this
let her do
election.
her job.
Next, I think we have a presentation, discussion of park evictions for major multiple law offenders. Is that the PowerPoint we're having here, Chief?
Yes, sir. Actually, we have the PowerPoint set up, but I'm speaking with the RD guy. I think it's going to be a little bit better to kind of.
We're just gonna walk through it.
A little bit, and we'll use the overhead with Mr. Wilkie.
Okay.
So we had it set up, but this will work a little bit better, I guess.
It's a little educational.
Yeah, and basically that's what this is. It's, I've already spoke with the powers to be, worked with Vicki Schmidt on this, and
You need to stay by the mic or you can't hear you. Or take the mic with you.
got it. Yeah, I don't know if I can take this thing with me.
Yeah, but I mean,
Okay. The, basically what we're looking at here is a program that, this is just going to be primarily educational. We did make a determination that this would be a good program for the city. In speaking with the city attorney, she asked that, or thought that it would be a good idea, and I agree that I present this to council as well, just so you're aware of a program that we're going to be initiating with the Parks Department and in conjunction with the Police Department and the Attorney's Office. And basically what I'm talking about is a park expulsion program. This is a program that it has been around in different cities throughout Wisconsin, and it comes back from, or it's a result of some studies that have been done regarding taking back the parks, especially in some problematic cities with that have some major problems with some of their parks. And it has been effective. I've used this program, worked with this program before over in the city of Appleton. It was a larger scale when we were dealing with gangs and some real serious crime and stuff like that. I mean, it was a really effective program. So I felt that this would be good considering some of the problems that we are experiencing here, but obviously to a smaller scale, to increment it down a little bit, but make up the program adoptable to the city of Lake Mills. So that's basically what we're going to be, what I'm going to be discussing here. Mr. Wilkie, if you can give me the next page up there. The number of parks we have here, if my count is right, is, throughout the city, we do have 11 public parks. Along with those, we have 3 public piers, which run along the edge of Rock Lake. We do have a public walking trail. I'm not sure if, how many people are actually aware of that. Actually, the city attorney pointed that out to me. I wasn't even aware that it was there, but it's a walking trail that goes between, really from Bartles Beach over to the fire department. It's between Ferry Drive and Veterans Lane. Kind of a shortcut through the woods there. We also have 3 public boat launches. One, of course, incorporated within Sandy Beach. Then one off the end of Lake Street. It's not necessarily one of those that you can, back a boat and trailer in, but you can, you can definitely offload like a canoe or something and put it in there. As well as the Mill Pond by the fire department. We have that boat launch right there. And I believe there's also a bike trail that coexists with the Glacier Drumlin Trail. And there's probably actually several of those that are underway, but if we can go to the next slide. And as you can see, this is a map that Strand put together for us, and the shaded areas, the areas in green are areas of all the parks as they're scattered throughout the city, with exception to off the end of CP, and I believe it's Industrial Drive. There's also a skateboard park there. Here we go with the next one. Some of the issues that we're experiencing in our parks since I've been here. We do have illegal drug activity occurring in our parks. Weapons offenses, believe it or not, they aren't, we don't have too many, but the council may not be aware that we did make an arrest this last summer of a young man who was concealing a handgun, got in a verbal altercation with several other individuals in Commons Park. When the officers went to deal with him, they searched him and they found that he was in possession of a handgun. He was taken into custody before, for that violation and before anything extenuated into something more serious. So we do have weapon violations here in our parks. They're kind of far and few between, but it's something that we definitely want to make sure we stay on top of. Damage to property, you're probably aware or have heard of the damage that was done to Wallace Park recently to the tune of a couple $1,000s. If you count somebody took a vehicle and they drove around the park and tore up the baseball diamond. They also broke a nice sign that was, I guess, paid for by Rotary and erected there. They broke that. We did deal with, we identified 5 individuals involved in that, and 3 of those parties were arrested and were brought up on criminal charges at this particular point. So that's the sort of stuff that we're looking for. With Skateboard Park, we've been dealing with some issues over there as well. The park director has called me throughout the summer, has called me several times with issues going on between Bartles Beach and the Skateboard Park. We do have some individuals that tend to congregate in those areas. We can all say, that's basically what parks are for people to congregate in. But some of the behavior has risen to the level where it's either habitual nuisance behavior, and some of the stuff is just getting out of hand. It's escalating into the stuff that we've seen at Wallace Park, and then at the Skateboard Park, where we did move some individuals. We requested that they maybe go over to the Skateboard Park. That way, to give them a place to hang out, where people in the neighborhood of Bartles Beach that felt they were concerned about the children being able to go down there without being escorted by parents to, for the children to go down to the park. They were a little concerned with some of the individuals hanging out there, congregating, and making the children feel intimidated. So with moving them over to the Skateboard Park, the damage increased over there. We had people break in garbage cans, dumping garbage all over the place, spray painting one of the city buildings right next to the park itself. We've had some incidents of indecent conduct at Bartles Beach and Commons Park. A couple of times that I've heard our parks director call me very upset. We have an individual that likes to go around into some of our public bathrooms and defecate on the floor intentionally, and we're trying to catch that individual right now. And the parks crew is getting a little upset with having to clean that up. And that's been occurring within Bartles Beach and Commons Park bathrooms. Also in Tyranina Park, since I've been here, we had a couple instances of nudity, sexual behavior going on in the woods, and actually an incident that I responded to working one day where there was individuals that were nude in the park, Lower Tyranina Park, with kids and family members down in the water swimming, and they were also in possession of drugs, and so we made a couple of arrests out of that. So in conjunction with that, we're looking at underage drinking, which occurs, of course, down at Sandy Beach and some of our other parks, and habitual nuisance behavior. Primarily, some of the individuals that we tend to keep dealing with time and time again, where they're violating rules, either park rules or municipal ordinances, and we're dealing with them on a regular basis. We write them a citation, and they go right back and do the same thing over and over again. Next. Basically what our goal is to, we have a lot of parks. The parks are here for a reason. We, of course, invite everybody to come down and enjoy the parks. Our citizens, people that are coming to the community, visiting the community, and, and our children. We want that to be a safe place for our citizens to congregate. And basically what this is, with the expulsion program, it allows us to deal with some of the behavior that I was discussing, and it gives the officers a tool to do that a little bit more effectively.
What I need is longer fingernails.
You're doing good, Mr. Wilkie.
Thanks.
So the solution to this is the park expulsion program, which I mentioned. The eligible candidates, basically what we're looking at is people that are criminal offenders. If we do have, when we do make illegal drug arrests, weapons offenses, assaults, if we have any batteries, fights, damage to property, such as what happened over at Wallace Park, we're looking at more serious stuff in conjunction with the next page. Sorry. We're also looking at habitual offenders of park rules, which are under Title 7, Chapter 7, and city ordinance violations, primarily what law enforcement deals with under Titles 5 and 6 of the Law Enforcement Code. So, in essence, we're not looking for citizens that are down there, one-time offenders, somebody underage drinking one time, or somebody who, didn't know and they went into the park with a glass bottle, or maybe somebody, accidentally brought a dog into a park that, one to belong there, or where the dogs weren't allowed. I mean, not to say that we're not going to deal with that situation either by a warning or a citation, but that surely wouldn't warrant an expulsion. We're looking at the people that are more serious or habitual offenders of these violations that just are in our parks, causing problems for the law-abiding citizens and making it uncomfortable, chasing off basically all the law-abiding citizens from our parks and the ability to enjoy them. The expulsion, the parameters for the expulsion, basically, if we do identify an offender, they would be expelled from all our parks, our beaches, our piers, our boat launches, the public trails that we have, whether they be walking trails or the biking trails, and importantly enough, to the parking areas, whether it be the parking lot or the areas designed for parking in the immediate vicinity, such as in Bartles Beach. The length of the expulsion, typically you want to go 12 months, but we would, I think it's reasonable to look at a range from 6 to 12 months, depending upon what type of violations we're dealing with. And that would be determined by the Parks Director, Rob Getz. That would be the individual that would have to make that determination on that, giving us the permission to basically expel those individuals from the property that he's responsible for by the city. As I mentioned, it's a limited program. It's very controlled. When I've worked with this program before, there is not a lot of people on it. There's just a few people that end up on this particular, on this list, and they're individuals that we keep a close eye on. And so, I mean, it's not like we're going to, go out there and just get a large number of people and put them on this board and or put them on this notice and have everybody expelled out of our parks. That's not our goal here. It's designed to remove the serious and habitual offenders from the parks, and as I mentioned, it's not intended for those people that, just the average, the everyday average citizen that's down there enjoying themselves in the park, and they happen to make a one-time or mistake. That's a minor violation. The arresting officer, well, once an individual is identified, will contact me. They'll make me aware of the situation. I'll make a determination whether or not that rises to the level of pursuing a park expulsion. They'll complete a park expulsion notice, which will be in one of the following pages here. Then from there, we'll speak with the Parks Director. We'll have the officer speak with the Parks Director, bring them up to speed, and get the Parks Director to make a determination on the length of the expulsion. He'll sign the document, the city attorney will, and I will. And of course, the city manager will also be made aware of what's going on with this procedure whenever we do expel somebody from one of our parks. The notice will then be served by the officer to the offender, no different than like a subpoena. And that is basically what the expulsion notice will look like. I know it's kind of hard to read on there, but that would be the document that we generate. We'd also take a photo of the individual so that we could take that document, give a copy to the individual, but then we would also take a copy of that document along with this photo, and we would share that with the Parks Director so we could share it with his park workers. And then, of course, we'd share it with the officers as well. So when they're out on patrol, if they notice the individual or individuals in the park, they can go ahead and address it. And I pretty much just explained that. If we do find an individual that is in violation of, after being served the expulsion notice, if they're in violation of that notice, we would then either arrest them, we'd arrest them for trespassing, either with a state charge or a municipal ordinance. Basically, this is City Appleton's study that they did back in 2001 with the Take Back the Parks. This was one of the questions that we asked pretty closely as I spoke with Attorney Schmidt about this. we wanted to make sure that we weren't violating anybody's civil rights. And it was determined, I spoke also with attorneys, Chris Behrens from the City of Appleton and Stacy Doucette, regarding the legal background, the legal authority based on this, that gave City of Appleton the authority to go ahead and do this. And they assured me that this has been researched, that this is totally legal and within our authorization as a city to be able to do this. No different than expelling somebody from the library for lewd and lascivious behavior, or certain cities expel people from buses and things of that nature. Basically, what they found there is an 89% decrease in alcohol-related crimes in their parks and a 38% decrease in crime overall in the city parks. So in a nutshell, I know it was kind of quick, but that's the program that we'd like to go ahead and implement here in the city, and hopefully that can help deal with some of these issues we've been experiencing in our parks, and see if we can get that under control, make our parks a little bit more enjoyable for our citizens to attend. Are there any questions?
Well, I want to thank you for the time put in, and I guess it's good we got you from Appleton so that you could give us this.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. Well, thank you. Yeah, this is, actually, can we get a hold of that if we need any additional info for
Actually,
our
I'll,
missing parties tonight? For Rudy and for...
Mr. Kirkavich, I can just give you my copy.
Okay. I'm just thinking, yeah, we got two guys missing tonight, too, so I want to share with them. We'll take that. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. All right.
It'll be in there.
Is that going to come across our council for approval?
No, it's not anything that the council has to approve because they already have the authority to issue citations for trespass. And this is just setting up an administrative program.
Okay.
And we put the safeguards in place that nobody gets expelled unless I sign off on it. And so the police officer will have to explain in detail what the basis is, but it's not anything the council needs to give separate authority for.
Okay, and it goes into effect when?
Now?
Done.
It's done. Enjoy your parks.
All right, and with that, next item is discussion decision, clean boats, clean water, and I was asked, can we, what I need to do is suspend the rules for,
Did you jumble in, Steve?
You jump.
did I jumble it? John's?
Yep.
All right, well, you know what, let's do garbage before we do clean water. We'll do that. We'll do that. Can I have,
Sounds good.
I got notes written all over, I think I crossed it out, so. Discussion, John's, can we get, it's motion 1411-1-2?
Okay, have it read?
Can we get that one read, please?
Authorizing the city clerk to notify John's Disposal that the price increase has been reviewed and the appropriate fee adjustments will be made.
All right, and then, what are we all looking at here?
Can we get,
A
for the
motion.
viewing public, what, Steve, can you just touch on what this is?
This increase for next year to $12.50 from $12.35, is that correct?
Yes, it's a 1.2%
Okay.
increase on the total,
And
and they are allowed to make a increase by contract up to a certain percentage, which was the CPU, and this year it was or at this point it was 1.8% for September. So they are under that. If they had been over, then the city council would have the right to terminate the contract or accept the proposal, but because they're under it, they notify us in December, then we make the corrected fee adjustments by resolution in the budget, which has already been done. It's actually more than,
and this will show up in the December bill?
no, January.
Okay, so the adjustment's made in December, but it becomes effective in January.
I didn't see anything in the paperwork either, but I know they collected like over 1 million pounds of recyclables, and how much does that affect our bill? I mean, how much does that keep it down? It's not really in there.
No, and I couldn't tell you. It depends. It varies so much from month to month now based on what they're getting for recyclables and what they can recycle at any given time. So they don't give us as much of that as they do that you're a high recycling community.
Okay.
Yeah, 600 tons.
Yeah, it was 600, but it didn't really say, I mean, if it saved us anything, so.
I'll make a motion to
To-
approve motion 1411-12.
Dash 1, dash 2. Can we get a second?
I will second it.
Any further questions? Can you call the vote, please?
Mr. Kirkevich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
All right, now, clean boats, clean water. We do the motion 1411-1-3, can we get that one read, please?
Directing the city manager to apply to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for a Clean Boats, Clean Water grant and approving an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Lake Mills.
All right, thank you. And then, do we have a motion to approve 1411-13?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And then a second?
I'll second
A
it.
second. And then, we do have Patricia Cisneros here. Do we need to suspend the rules to allow her to answer questions? Did I say that right?
Yes. It's Patricia Cicero.
Cicero,
I will make that motion.
sorry about that.
That's
You'll make-
okay.
And do we need a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have a second? Is that a good vote?
Vote.
You have to call vote, please.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkevich?
Aye. All righty. And sorry, Patricia. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's fine.
Um,
So in your packets, you received a handout that I put together summarizing the grant work that was done this year through a Town of Lake Mills grant. It's a DNR grant that's been around for a couple years now called, to really extend the reach of the state's Clean Boats, Clean Waters program, in which inspectors are trained to educate boaters that come to the boat launches about aquatic invasive species and the laws associated with preventing them from getting into our waterways. And so you can see in the handout that a lot of great work was done this year. In this year, the two boat inspectors put in a total of 364 hours. The grant was specific to the North End boat launch at 200 hours as required through the grant, but the town decided that they would put in work at all the launches. And one of the significant things I want to point out is that a lot of people think, oh, Rock Lake already has a lot of aquatic invasive species. We already have what we have, and we're not going to get any more. Well, that's false. And actually, the data that was collected this year found that there were 49 instances when boats were coming in from being in waters that had documented species that were not in Rock Lake. So there's a number of species out there that Rock Lake doesn't have, and we want to keep it that way. So this year, the town has agreed to go ahead and apply for the grant again to cover the 200 hours at the North End boat launch. And Hope Ozdike and I and Ed Grundon and Steve Wilkie met earlier, and we're hoping that the city would apply for the grant also to cover 200 hours at Sandy Beach, since that's the other boat launch on the lake that has the most traffic. So the idea is that the city would apply for the grant. It's $4,000 that you would get from the DNR, and that the town would agree to administer the grants both for the town and for the city. That administration means that they would do all the advertising for hiring the boat inspectors and doing the hiring and the payment of their payroll to them also. My part is that I let this year, and I'll do it next year, help interview the candidates. I also train them and basically are the support person for them if they have questions along the way. And there's a number of handouts that they have available for the boaters that I supply to them. So that this year, I think I spent about, my time attributed around $600 for the match for the grant. There is a local match, and the town has agreed to do the local match through their boat launch fees.
And so, and this is mainly an educational program, right? You're contacting boaters and letting them know you came on a Asherpin Lake and the species that you could be bringing. You're not actually doing any washing or cleaning or anything?
That's correct. It's an educational program. In the training, I do give the inspectors direction as to if they see a violation, what they're supposed to do, and it's typically calling law enforcement. They're not the ones that can do anything about the violation, so they document it, call law enforcement, and provide that information to those officials.
So are most boaters, or it seems like you made contact with a lot, pretty receptive to not just taking the brochure and driving away, but listening and actually getting some
Yes.
info?
Yeah, and both inspectors from this year said that everybody that they talked to was very interested and wasn't bothered. In the training, I also train them if there's somebody who looks like they're rushed or bothered because they have been waiting in line to get on the lake, that, you know, you can let some of those people go. We don't want to be a nuisance to the boaters out there, but we do want to get across the message that it's illegal to have water in your live well or on your boat, have plants hanging from your trailer once you get out of the water, and you can't transport it on public roads. So it's a way to keep our waters clean of invasive species.
You're not only keeping the waters clean of invasive species in our lake, but you're keeping it cleaner for other lakes where that boat goes, too.
That's correct, because we have a number of species that could be easily transported to other lakes. So they're talking to boaters both who are launching and boaters who are coming off of Rock Lake and potentially going somewhere else.
Anything else?
I'm just trying to read through this real quick here and trying to understand whether or not there's any legal issues we're sort of maybe skirting by providing the same funding for one lake out of two
Out of city and.
jurisdictions.
There's
It
not.
does say that grant funding is limited only 75% of the total project. So does that mean we have to legally make up a 25% in order to get the funding?
We have to provide some share of the funding. And so it's like writing the grant and doing other administrative work that we put into it. She said that the town was providing it through their additional funds. So, yeah, but it's not substantial.
Okay.
And actually, if I read it right, you can do it with labor versus money as well, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
Yes.
Administrative stuff and that type of.
Okay.
And my time spent on it will go toward the match
Okay.
as a county match.
Patricia, I have a
Yes.
question. You said that they would contact law enforcement. Is that the boat patrol that they're going to be contacting? Or is that
No.
our local law enforcement for the city of Lake Mills?
It could be local law enforcement or the DNR warden. If it's an after-the-fact thing that they just document, write down the boat ID number and give the information later, it's typically going to be the DNR warden. I don't know if the city has received training on this issue. I'd be more than happy to come and talk to the law enforcement about what the laws are and what their jurisdiction is in terms of stopping boaters on the road and checking to make sure that they don't have any water or plants on their boat. A lot of law enforcement, local law enforcement, have liked this law because it gives them actually an opportunity to stop a boater so that they can check other things to make sure that they weren't drinking on the water, which sometimes happens, and they're not driving afterwards. So it's a way to make contact with people and also check on the aquatic invasive species laws to make sure that they're being followed.
If Lake Mills officers aren't presently available because they might be out on other calls, can they rely on the boat patrol?
Yes, they certainly can.
Okay.
It's not something that
which-
has to be done right away. If the inspector documents the boat ID and what happened, it could be an after-the-fact contact by law enforcement. It doesn't have to happen right away.
Yeah, they can come after you several days later. The issue that on the boat patrol is that if they pull out and they're leaving and they're on the road, the boat patrol isn't going to go after them. So you're assuming that they're coming into the lake and they're moving in, and the boat patrol could take them out there, but I don't know that that's an important issue as passing the information on to the DNR warden.
Right.
I have a question. Is it usually people who just don't know that this is not the way to do it that have the problems? Or is it people who know that this is not the way to do it and are just saying, I'll show you, you can't make me do this?
Well, I would say that for the most part, there's a lot of people out there who don't know all the rules. They might know some of them, but they don't know all of them. Because there's some more recent ones that have to do with bait laws, and those have been, I think, somewhat confusing to fishermen. And so there's a lot of fishermen out there that don't necessarily know the rules having to do with bait and movement of water in bait.
Fishing isn't what it used to be, huh?
No. So it is a lot of people who don't know all the rules or don't understand all the steps that they should be taking. Even if they are aware of the rules, they don't know all the steps that they should be taking to clean their boats and their trailers.
So generally speaking, it's not a hostile situation?
It hasn't been at all.
Okay.
I coordinate the program in Jefferson County and talk statewide to all the other county coordinators, and there is usually like 1 or 2 times a year in the state where they have somebody hostile and it's not good to deal with. And again, I cover that in the training, that it's not worth it to the inspectors
Right.
and they shouldn't be engaging with those people.
Just pass
so.
that number on to the powers
Yeah.
that be.
But the 2 inspectors this year, Bud Downs is a retired fishery biologist, and Cody Shepard was a college student at UW-Whitewater. They both said that everybody was very welcoming and nice, and they'd see repeat boaters all the time who got to know them and said hi to them every time they saw them at the launch. So it's a friendly interaction.
Yeah, most fishermen are conservationists. They want the fishing to continue for their kids, and so it's been, any further?
Well, I'm happy to see us working in tandem with the township.
Yeah, me too.
I think this is a good step in that direction as well.
Too.
All right. Anything else?
I'd like to make a motion to approve motion 1411-13, sorry.
We already do that? Motion and second?
Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yep.
I must really like this
You
motion.
do really like it. We just call the vote then?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
All right, motion passed. Resolution,
Thank you for coming.
1458. Let's see. Acquisition of property rights. Can we get what's the first paragraph? Kind of missed the middle section there, if you would. All the technical, I don't know, has to be read at this point, but.
I can do it. Resolution 1458, concerning the acquisition of property rights from Richard and Bernice Stiles Trust and approving the offering price and submittal report. whereas the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin has determined it is necessary to construct intersection improvements at Elm Street and Tyranina Park Road, and whereas said construction will necessitate the acquisition of 6,186 square feet or 0.142 acres of right-of-way from Richard and Bernice Stiles Trust for the right to construct and maintain streets and related public infrastructure along County Highway V, Tyranina Park Road, for the following described premises to wit, and we don't need to read the legal description. And the city has caused an appraiser of the subject property, an appraisal of the subject property to be prepared by its consulting appraiser, and whereas the city has determined that it is in the best interest of the city to offer to purchase the right-of-way from the owners of such property and to take such other actions as are deemed necessary to acquire the right-of-way for the purposes of constructing and maintaining streets and related public infrastructure. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Mills does hereby declare and determine that the fee title land for right-of-way is needed for construction and maintenance of streets and public infrastructure. Be it further resolved that the city manager is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the city the offering price and submittal report with total damages of $24,800.
Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 1458?
So moved.
I'll second.
A second, and then turn over, Steve?
I provided you a memo, and it's consistent with the, I think, 8 or 9 other ones that we've done, and the 4 or 5 other ones that we'll still have to do. It's the beginning of a process that goes through the state process of acquiring right-of-way. It's a pretty set process where you do the appraisal, we set the offer, our consultants make the initial offer, the landowner has a right to get a second appraisal, they then we negotiate on that. If there's an agreement, then we pay the price and then move on. If there's not, there's a jurisdictional offer made. We then acquire the property, and then it ends up in circuit court. And the judge makes a final decision on what the true value of the land is. But at this point, we're just at the beginning.
Making the offer, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Will you keep us abreast of how this is going?
Yep.
Actually, is there a map online of exactly where we're looking at, kind of snaking that road through?
There is not online unless you go to the,
Is it in the project plan for
It was
Elm
in-
Street?
It was
it's in the TIF.
Yeah.
That's where I was thinking. It's also online in this document.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. In the
Because
exhibits.
the, part of the document has the, if you look at it right here,
Right, this page.
this is Elm Street,
Yeah.
this is Tyranina Park Road, and
Yeah, I just want people to
Okay.
know what they're kind of.
the piece that we're looking at here is from here to here, and then from here to here. And then the parcel number 2 is from here to here, so that'll be the next one we read. But the first one is basically from the edge of Quick Trip to the edge of the parcel, that's the house. And then it's, the agricultural parcel actually wraps all the way around the house, and it runs then on this little section out here from basically Lake Mill Center over to the house parcel again. That's the one we're looking at right now.
Why does this seem like it's costing more than normal, unless I'm,
What's one?
Well, there are two different, there are a couple different issues in this one. First of all, this one is actual acquisition of right-of-way, not
oh. okay.
construction easements or
Gotcha.
restrictive easements. And then to top it off, this land has a higher value. As we move closer to the interstate, the value of the land goes up. So, yeah, you're going to notice that.
Yeah, like I said, that's not much land for,
Yeah, and it's not just, you need your land for a month to
yeah.
move around on.
Yeah, it's a combination of issues that goes into it, but
Yeah, $4 a square foot.
yeah, as you start getting closer and closer to the interstate and that intersection where then the value of the property goes up.
Okay.
Other questions? Others? Diane, do you think?
No,
all of you-
I'm
We're
fine.
good? All right, you call the vote, please.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Resolution 14-59, another acquisition. Could we get that, same as the last one? Could you read kind of the same?
Concerning the Resolution 1459, concerning the acquisition of property rights from Richard and Bernice Stiles Trust and approving the offering price and submittal report. Whereas the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin has determined it is necessary to construct intersection improvements at Elm Street and Tyranina Park Road, and whereas that said construction will necessitate the acquisition of 3,572 square feet or 0.082 acres right-of-way from Richard and Bernice Stiles Trust for the right to construct and maintain streets and related public infrastructure along County Highway V, Tyranina Park Road for the following described premises. Whereas the right-of-way to construct and maintain streets and related public infrastructure along County Highway V, Tyranina Park Road is deemed necessary and/or desirable by the highway authorities, and whereas the city has caused an appraisal of the subject property to be prepared by its consulting appraiser, and whereas the city has determined that it is in the best interest of the city to offer to purchase the right-of-way from the owners of such property and to take such other actions as are deemed necessary to acquire the right-of-way for the purposes of constructing and maintaining streets and related public infrastructure. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Mills does hereby declare and determine that the fee title land for right-of-way is needed for construction and maintenance of streets and public infrastructure. Be it further resolved that the city manager is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the city the offering price and submittal report with total damages of $14,300.
We have a motion to adopt Resolution 1459.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All right, questions back to,
It's pretty much the same one. This one is pictures pulled in closer, and so you can see the parcel that we're dealing here with. This one's actually in the town of Lake Mills. It's not in the city yet. And I don't know if you remember when we had the traffic impact analysis, and you guys were provided that, and it talked about all the additional turning lanes and the removing of the crest of the hill here, and so lowering the street some to make these intersections work. And so that's why all these right-of-ways are tying together. That's why we went from all the way through, because ultimately the lanes and the future redesign of the roadway and the intersections will require that additional right-of-way.
okay. Any further? That one, Diane?
Well, the only thing that's running through my mind is if at some point someone wants to develop that piece, will that then come back to the council for annexation into the city?
On this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything that would, our municipal boundary agreement with the town requires that any property that wants to develop in this area has to annex.
So somewhere down the road, we'll see this little piece again.
Right.
Okay.
Probably the biggest issue that we deal with is, normally a developer would come in, and as part of the development of this type of property, they would be dedicating all the right-of-ways, because it would be to their best interest. But because they're not developing at this time, and they're not interested in developing at this time, or
So this
not-
is our only option.
I shouldn't say not interested, but not moving forward with any development proposals, it's in our best interest to make sure we have this right away now.
Yeah.
So it's on us.
Yep.
All right, that it? Can you call the vote, please?
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Bekavich?
Aye. Resolution 1460, we'll do it again. Can we get you to,
Yeah, it's going to sound like a broken record.
thank you.
Resolution 1460, concerning the acquisition of property rights from Rock Lake Cemetery and approving the offering price and submittal report. Whereas the City of Lake Mills has determined it is necessary to construct an intersection at Elm Street and Tyranina Park Road, and whereas that said construction will necessitate the acquisition of 653 square feet or 0.015 acres restrictive development easement from Rock Lake Cemetery to create and maintain a vision corner, restricting the grantor's right within said easement to only those activities that would not impair or otherwise adversely affect the ability of the motoring public motoring public on either Elm Street or County Highway V, Tyranina Park Road of the following described premises. Whereas a restrictive development easement for site distance purposes and which prohibits the construction of buildings and fences and limits the vegetation growing thereon to a maximum height of 30 inches is deemed necessary and/or desirable by the highway authorities. And whereas the city has caused an appraisal of the subject property to be prepared by its consulting appraiser, and whereas the city has determined that it is in the best interest of the city to offer to purchase the restrictive development easement from the owners of such property, and to take such other actions as are deemed necessary to acquire the restrictive development easement for the purposes of constructing the improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Mills does hereby declare and determine that the fee title land and restrictive development easement to construct the Elm Street extension is necessary. Be it further resolved that the city manager is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the city the offering price and submittal report with total damages of $1,000.
We have a motion to adopt Resolution 1460.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. And again,
I was wondering if Steve could put the thing on the overhead that shows that little triangle that we're talking about from your packet there.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
It's page 41. The reason I was asking that is if you can kind of just point out for the people watching on television what we're talking about on that map.
The roadway comes in right along the edge of the
Okay.
cemetery.
Okay.
And there is a triangle here, which would be called a vision triangle, where they try and make sure that there's nothing put in there that would block vision. And so basically what they do is they put a restrictive easement on there to guarantee that nothing is
Okay.
constructed
So no
or
trees-
planted or.
No trees of
Right.
height and so forth.
Right.
Just for clarification, there are no graves in that space?
There are no graves in that space,
Got
but the
it.
graves wouldn't be an issue because they're,
Oh, so that's not going to get graded and do things with it?
no, it's just to keep it clear.
Oh, okay, okay, I didn't understand that.
a good question.
Well, I figured somebody's going to ask me that one, so, I'd hate to have Grandpa scooted away with a
I want
thing.
to come find out
We
someone.
we did check on the family, and there are no living relatives left, so the family that's closest to this area.
Okay, well, that was very considerate. Thank you for doing that.
Bill did that.
Oh, and I'm also
So
glad
you
to see that the
contacted
city is not asking as much money as everybody else is.
It's the way the appraisal works. We didn't have anything to do with it. It's the type of restriction, and it's the value of the land.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
certain number of bundles of rights within property ownership, and with the right-of-way, we acquired all of it. They don't retain anything, but with this, it's just the restrictive easement that it's saying you can't do certain things on your property anymore, but you still own it.
And ours isn't commercial. There's no way we could,
Right.
we're not selling it to Menards or somebody like that. So it's a totally different set of packages there.
But I did notice that when I was going through the packet, I thought, oh, well, that's nice, so.
It was interesting in the fact that when we did Birch Street, we owned a lot of that land that the street ended up being built on, and they did the parcels background and the title searches and all the information, but they didn't give us any money. Now, on this one, there were two things they noted, that they wanted to make sure it was recorded, and they assumed the cemetery association was in place and that Bill was managing it, and it's like, well, not really, but we'll take the money.
Perfect.
Otherwise, I don't have any further questions.
Mark, can we call the vote, please?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Ordinance 1136A. This is the third reading. Actually, can we get that read?
Ordinance 1136A, amending Ethics Code financial disclosure requirements. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin does ordain as follows. Section 1, Section 1-13-5, Disclosure of Interests. Ethics Code of the City of Lake Mills Municipal Code is amended as shown. And the only thing that's really shown is what's in bold print, which is paragraph G under form of statement, number 3, the identity of every, well, I'll read what G says. A form of statement, the person filing any statement of interest required under this section shall file such statement on the form approved by the Ethics Board and provided by the city clerk, and shall supply the following information. Number 3, the identity of every organization of which she or he or any adult member of her or his immediate family is an officer or director, and the identity of every organization of which she or he or any member of her or his immediate family owns or controls, directly or indirectly, severally or in aggregate, at least 5% of the outstanding equity, provided, however, that membership only in an organization need not be disclosed. And then paragraph 4, the identity of all real estate within the City of Lake Mills or within Jefferson County other than primary or principal residence in which the person filing or any member of his or her immediate family has a direct or indirect interest in the identity of any person or entity owning or controlling any real estate within the City of Lake Mills or within Jefferson County in which the person filing or any member of his or her immediate family has a direct or indirect interest. And that's the only change in the current section of the code that this would be amending.
All right. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1136A?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 1136A.
A second?
Second.
Thank you.
I- Yeah,
You got anything?
I just think that it's a good change in the ordinance and something that in today's world, you do need to know what's going on. It's, it's not good to know after the fact. You've got to know ahead of time.
Well, I know, I think a number of years back, you were probably on the council, an ordinance like this failed, but it was pretty intrusive. And so when we sent it down to the Ethics Committee, we asked them to make it a reasonable, and I think it fits, so.
Yes, I think it's well done, and
I
would like
agree.
to thank the Ethics Committee for their
For the
time
work
and
they put
effort.
in on that as well, so thank you. Anything else? Can we call the vote, please?
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
All right. Ordinance 1137, can we get that one read, please?
Ordinance 1137, amending school parking zones. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin does ordain as follows. Section 1, Section 6321, school parking zones is amended by removing the following as an area where no person may stop or leave standing any vehicle, whether attended or unattended, or whether temporarily or otherwise. What this is doing is it's removing from the code the following section: Prospect Street East on the south side from the intersection of Main and Prospect Street to the intersection of Birch and Prospect Street between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. and between the hours of 2:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. on any days during which Prospect Elementary School is in session. This ordinance is sponsored by Council Representative Diane Hosp-Fritsch. All ordinances or parts of ordinance inconsistent with or contravening the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and publication as provided by law.
All right, we have a motion to adopt ordinance 1137.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 1137.
All right, second.
Second.
Thank you. Diane, anything?
Well, basically, we just didn't need it anymore since school doesn't open on that street. And in the future, we will be having one sort of reciprocal one that does deal with Pine Street, but we haven't gotten that yet. Right?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Anything else?
kind of housekeeping, right?
Kind of a
Okay.
housekeeping. And the third reading, can you call the vote, please?
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkkovich?
Aye. Ordinance 1138, we have that one read, please?
Ordinance 1138, amending council vice president compensation and duties. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin does ordain as follows. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills amends Section 1-5B-1-D of the Lake Mills Municipal Code as follows. 15B1, composition and salary, paragraph D, salary effective May 1, 2015, whoever is elected as council vice president shall receive an annual salary of $3,180 instead of $2,880. And Section 2, Section 15B1E of the City of Lake Mills Municipal Code is created as follows. E, City Council Vice President, in addition to presiding at council meetings whenever the council president is absent from the meeting, the council vice president shall be responsible for tracking and periodically reporting on the council's progress in fulfilling its goals as stated in the planning and goal-setting report approved by the council. Section 3, this ordinance is sponsored by Council Representatives Diane Hosp-Fritsch and Michael Foster. Section 4, any ordinance or part thereof that is inconsistent or in conflict herewith is hereby expressly repealed. Section 5, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon passage and publication as provided by law. The effect of this is that the normal salary for a council member is $2,880. This increases that salary for the council vice president to $3,180.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 1138.
I will make that motion.
And I will second it.
Second, thank you. And you have anything you want to add, or?
Well, I think I'll just say, since both of us actually sponsored the motion, that the office of vice president does require more work than those of us who are not serving in either the role of president or vice president. And there was no compensation for the extra time that is needed to prepare for a meeting when you're told in advance that you're going to be the person in charge, as we have this evening. And even more so than that, since I've been vice president numerous times, you have to be ready at a moment's notice to conduct the meeting. And that means you don't get to just come and, do what I do tonight, but you have to do what Steve's doing tonight. So you have to always be ready to go. And I think that is, it entitles the vice president, whoever that person is, a little bit of extra money, not very much, but a little bit.
And we're also adding the extra roles on there from
The goal setting.
the goal-setting session.
Right.
To our moderator, to make sure we're following true to what we put out as our important items for the city.
Yes.
Anything else?
Nope.
Can you call the vote, please?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Ordinance 1139, Title 10. Can we get that read, please?
I'll read the very short ordinance, and then if you want Dustin to explain it, he actually authored it. Ordinance 1139, recreating Title 10 zoning regulations and approving zoning map. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin does ordain as follows. Section 1, Title 10 zoning regulations of the Lake Mills Municipal Code is hereby repealed and recreated through the adoption of City of Lake Mills zoning ordinance Title 10, which is dated September 2014 and which is incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, the City of Lake Mills official zoning map, which is incorporated by reference into Title 10, is hereby approved and adopted as the official zoning map that shows the zoning districts of all properties within the City of Lake Mills. Section 3, all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent with or contravening the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon passage and publication as provided by law.
You have a motion to adopt ordinance 1139?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second, all right, we'll turn it over.
Well, this is the final reading
Final
on
reading? Yep.
the lengthy code update process that really began with your comprehensive plan. It was a key recommendation of that. The Plan Commission worked quite diligently over the last few years to evaluate the existing code and to update it to kind of reflect current values and needs of the community. The chair, Pam Lazaris, certainly did work hard, as did the other commissioners, to try to engage the public and the business community on issues that were of key importance to them, to ensure that they understood some of the code changes that were being requested. Hopefully that they were finding that many of the code changes made sense with how they were either using their property as a resident or as a business, and will ensure kind of the future character and value of the community continues on.
Comments? Questions?
I mentioned, there's nothing's mentioned about the amendments that were made at the previous meetings, so that has been,
Those have been included, yes.
Yes.
We wanted to make sure there was no others, but yes, that was part of the
Yeah,
record from
that
the
was-
from the
okay.
public hearing.
just
that
want to
was
make
held.
sure.
Yes.
Okay.
No, and for my part, yeah, has it been a 2-year deal?
And then.
4-year.
4-year deal?
I was gonna say, that was
Because
the last
There was
half.
first two, so 4 years, and
Yeah.
And that doesn't include the comprehensive plan, which was almost 2 years.
so, you know what, to me, I mean, I can't thank you guys enough for what you've done, and I hope that once, if this goes through, which it looks like, you can get a break for a while, so, thank you for the work you've had. and-
1 week, you get 1 week.
1 week.
Week, yeah.
I think we have an amendment already pending.
Really?
Yeah, the floodplain ordinance.
Floodplain
would be-
ordinance.
Floodplain.
Yeah.
Oh,
The floodplain ordinance that's
Perfect,
in this
So there's
draft
no,
is the other one.
there's no relief for the wicked.
no relief, all
Yeah.
right.
But at least we'll have a working document,
A working actually, yeah, a working document will be in
because
place.
there's going to be changes
But that's
continually to
okay.
this, but yeah, we will have something that we can work off of, thank goodness.
Your last code is, I mean, there have been revisions over the years, but the core code is over 40 years old. so
Yeah.
All right.
It was time.
Anything else?
No.
Can you please call the vote?
Mr.
Waited 4 years
Kirkovich?
to say that. That's awesome.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
All right. And then ordinance, one more, 1140. Title 11 subdivision code, can we get that one read too, please?
Ordinance 1140, recreating Title 11 subdivision regulations. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, does ordain as follows. Section 1, Title 11 subdivision regulations of the City of Lake Mills Municipal Code is hereby repealed and recreated through the adoption of subdivision regulations, which is dated September 2014, and is incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent with or contravening the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon passage and publication as provided by law.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 1140.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All right, and
So,
again-
Title 11 kicks in anytime someone is looking to subdivide land. This really just regulates kind of the hows and whys, outlines the process by which a property owner, developer would go through to develop their land, talks about how lots should be laid out, and to make sure that various city requirements are incorporated for utilities and approvals from Public Works Board to utilities to, we made some provisions in here for conservation subdivisions, which you didn't have previously. So, again, a little more current than the previous regulations you had on the books. It aligns quite similarly with the state statutes as well. I think it's a little easier to read than the old one. There's a few graphics in there. So hopefully, this will work moving forward to assist the development community when it comes time to subdivide property.
Questions or comments, anything else here?
Another great job.
You call the vote, please.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye. 1140 passes. Ordinance 1141, floodplain ordinance, second reading. Just pass that to, can we just pass that to the third reading? Or
The Plan Commission had their public hearing at their last meeting, and there was a proposed amendment to Section 2 of this.
Okay.
But given your action tonight on passing our Title 10, we could amend it even further so that we don't have to have it talk about the current Title 10 and the proposed Title 10. We could clean it all up
Okay.
with an amendment. You don't have to do it tonight. You could do it at your third reading next time. I just wanted to let you know about it. Or you could amend it tonight if you so chose.
I would like to do it when I can see it.
Okay, I can put into your packet, like I've done
for the next one?
as a recommended amendment to the ordinance, and then you'll see how it would change.
That sounds good.
All right, so at this time, we're just going to pass that to the third reading. Ordinance 1142, general fund is the second reading, and we'll pass that to a third reading. Ordinance 11,
Can we mention that there will be a public hearing
is that
at the next meeting?
for the general fund budget?
For the, yeah, for the budget, both of
Yep.
them?
And then ordinance 1143, capital budget will be passed to the third reading, and we will have
Great.
the public hearing as well. Recommendations for future agendas, anybody? Having none, we will convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85(1)E, deliberating and/or negotiating the purchase of public properties or the investment or the investing of public funds, and a collective bargaining agreement when bargaining reasons require a closed meeting. With that, we will reconvene in a couple of minutes here.
Mr. Kirkovich, someone needs to make a motion and a second on that, and then you have to vote in order to go into
Can we
closed
have do we
session.
have a motion to convene into closed session?
I'll make a motion to convene into closed session.
I will second it.
Thank you. Can we have a vote, please?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
And now we will.
Will we be going